an angle. We don't know that.
Yes. We are in fine form today, folks, you know?
Wow.
I think it's the heat. I don't know.
It's not having to wear a mask. That's what's upset me. And anyway.
You're live.
We're live.
All right.
Okay.
Right, great.
Take it away, Erin.
All right. Good morning. I would like to call the Monday, June 7th, 2021 MEPC officers meeting to order. I am going to call the roll. Treasurer Sam.
Here.
Secretary Sandra.
Here.
VP Adam is absent. President Erin, present. Next up on the agenda is the approval of minutes from May 2nd, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Great. I have a motion from Sam to approve the minutes from May 2nd, 2021, and a second from Sandra. Any discussion? Okay, great. Roll calls required. All those in favor, Sam?
Yes.
Sandra?
Yes.
And Erin, yes. Motion passes 3-0. Next up is the review of contracts. I think Mark is going to take it away. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Sasha, do you have the contracts document that I sent this morning?
Let me see if I can pull it up. If not, I think Heidi.
You could start, if you have it, if you could start by sharing the pass-through contracts document, I would appreciate that. Otherwise, I can do it.
I have them.
Okay. All right, if you can take us to the top of the document. There we go. There aren't too many things all that worth noting here. A number of them, happily, are our accelerating climate resiliency grants to a wide variety of communities. And you'll see these here. I think you can scroll down a little bit, actually to the bottom, probably. I don't think any of the others are necessary to review. You should know that in regard to MO 21494, which is the purchase of food for the large animal rescue training, I have confirmed that that is food for the participants, not for the large animals. I anticipated you would ask that question this morning, so I got that information beforehand. Are there any questions on the pass-through contracts?
None.
If not, we can move on to the revenue contracts. And there we are. I'll go through these gradually. The continued assistance to more communities regarding town meetings and providing support for the technology of handling this virtually. See, we're doing that for Stoughton. We recently did it for Norwood. We've done it for a number of communities. It seems exceptionally on the south of Boston. I'm not quite sure what the reason for that is. The other two are small and not particularly worth noting, I think, here. Both good. Well, one is perfectly good contract for additional research on social determinants of health. But the other one is just an honorarium that's being transferred to MEPC. Moving down to May 2021. Thank you, Sasha. The Lynn Street School Lot is Lynn. I think it should say, yes, the School Street Lot. It's not a school building. We are simultaneously working on repurposing school buildings and parking lots in Lynn. This is in regard to the parking lot. We are hopeful that it will become a site for affordable housing in the downtown, and we are working to help develop that RFP. I know that Rebecca, if I call upon her, will be able to explain better than I can, or perhaps Sam what the warm line project in Cambridge is? I did know at one point, but I'm not remembering.
I don't know, so it would have to be Rebecca.
Yeah, I'm not
Rebecca.
quite,
Rebecca.
I actually do not know what the warm line refers
okay.
to.
Sorry.
We have a lot of projects happening in Cambridge, and I just don't know if this has to do with cooling or heating, to be honest.
Yes.
One of the two.
I think it's cooling.
Cooling
Yeah.
work, and so that's what I'm assuming it's regarding, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I think it's cooling work, if I'm remembering correctly. I know Cammie explained it to me. I'm not remembering it
It's a
completely
public
right
health
now.
project, so.
Yes,
Yeah, we're doing
We're
a lot of
very-
work with their communities.
we're very excited about the major grant for digital broadband support to Chelsea, Revere, Quincy, and Malden to purchase Wi-Fi systems to improve connectivity, to provide appropriate training and equipment in some of our lower income communities through a major grant from the Commonwealth. The Arts and Culture Grant from BAR is the re-upping of the annual Arts and Culture Grant. It did come with an increase this year for the purpose of hiring a fellow, replacing Kresge funds, since Kresge requires that we take a rest from Kresge funding for at least a year. Hopefully we'll come back to Kresge next year, but it's not guaranteed. The Gloucester change is not significant. The work with DPH is good analysis work that we're doing post-pandemic to help in the determination of community impacts, many of which we know, but some of which we're trying to learn in finer detail. And I think that is the last one. Sasha, if you could scroll to the bottom, I think that's it. Yeah. Any questions on the revenue contracts?
I want to ask if I may, but I don't want to jump in front of you. So go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
On the Lynn School Street lot, I'm curious about that. Partly, I don't want to say it's self-interest, but there's a similar sort of thing happening in Cambridge, and I'm just curious what you're learning from the experience and what's your takeaway from it all, and who's your partner in the work. There's a
Learning that I'd much rather work in Cambridge than in Lynn.
No, it's difficult in Cambridge.
As
too.
challenging as Cambridge is, it's not as challenging as Lynn. We're doing about a half a dozen land use planning projects in Lynn. They range from the very, sort of small bore micro level detail, like disposing of this lot and building some housing on it, to the very large scale Housing Lynn project, which is in the process of developing, has really developed a housing production plan for the city of Lynn, which is held up by City Council. City Council is the City Council president with no notable authority to do so, has sent detailed demands to city departments, about 6 city departments, to conduct detailed reviews to prove whether or not the things stated in the housing production plan are actually true or needed, because of his overall contention that there should not be additional affordable housing in Lynn. And so the project, though finished, is still being held up. Mayor McGee is, as you all know, not running for re-election, but trying very hard to get us and his administration to complete some housing related work prior to his departure. But every one of these projects is a difficult struggle.
Including this one listed here.
Yes, including this one, but
Okay.
they are going to dispose of that lot, and we would like to make sure that the disposition is consistent with the objectives of the Housing Lynn housing production plan, that it is multifamily, which I think is a foregone conclusion, that it is not age restricted, and that as many of the units as possible are affordable. Those are the goals.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, go ahead,
Thank
Sam.
That's it. No, that's
On
it.
the DPH work, so who did they administer that survey to? Was it sort of the chief officer in each town, or the chief?
If I recall correctly, I think it's mostly public health staff and the local boards of health. And we are trying to make sure that it's disseminated, that people respond to it. and we will help them with the analysis of the data. That's about all I know, Sandra. I can send an email now to Barry to get you with more information if you're
Yeah,
interested.
my understanding is it's available broadly, so it is also for anyone to take. I took it just so I wanted to see what. So it is like a broad, I think, sense also of kind of trying to understand the impact of COVID-19 on people's lives too. So, but we could have Barry follow up with you, although I'm sure.
Yeah. No, it seems really important and interesting. I just hadn't thought about it, so I imagine we'll be hearing more when the results are in and it'll get some attention. Hopefully.
If I might, I don't want to drag us out too long. On your Gateway Cities Wi-Fi, are you all staffed up for that, or does that demand more or different types of staffing to help these communities work on these issues?
Right now, the proposal is to look at a part-time contract as we think about kind of full staffing for this position. And there's actually a partner who's done work actually in the Red Hook neighborhood in New York, who has done similar work that we're thinking of bringing on board to help with this project in particular, and try to build out kind of the capacity as we think through. There was a position in the budget to really kind of think, I think we called it a civic technologist, and we're trying to kind of build that project out. But right now there's a contract position or contract consultant that we're looking at for this project.
Yeah, it sort of feels like it's brave new territory, and maybe there's a lot to learn for everybody. Also, it seems like it's multi-year. Like this seems like a multi-year sort of project.
I think we are really trying to build out this kind of work in the digital divide space. And there's also a lot of potential with the ARPA dollars in terms of communities that are looking at, even kind of creating their own broadband. And that is one of the kind of infrastructure uses of the dollars. And so I think there's a lot of important planning work, you're right, Sam, that's going to take place over the next few years, and some actual dollars and resources that can help with that. So yeah. I think it's a space to continue to grow into.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, thank you.
Great. Are there any other questions or comments? Great. Thank you, Sasha, for sharing that screen. Hello, everyone again. All right. Next up on the agenda is hiring and staff changes.
Turn to Rebecca on that.
Yeah, I will start. I think we have lots of good news. So we've had 2 new staff start who I don't know if you got to meet them both, but Allison Zimmon in our legal department, who is an executive committee, and Jesse Way in our clean energy department. Who comes to us with a lot of consulting experience, so ready to hit the ground running. We've also really successfully staffed up in our HR department, so I'm really excited. We have Mary Beth Campbell joining us as an HR generalist. She's coming from WGBH, bringing a lot of great experience. I think she's really going to help poor Holly out, who's been a little overwhelmed. And then we have Angela Howard starting as our Director of Equity and Culture. So super excited about Angela. She comes with about 20 plus years of experience in the HR space, and is really bringing, I think, some experiences working. She's worked, for the state before, for EEA. She's worked for the Math Teachers Association, and she's worked in some for-profit experiences and lots of, interesting DEI experiences as well. So really, you guys are going to love her. Mark and I, so far, it was a unanimous, everyone on the hiring team was just so excited. And so I'm really excited to have her on board, and we'll bring her to an officers meeting, soon, because it's great to have, it's rare that we hire into our senior leadership team. So really personally so excited. I could use some help. And then we do have some open positions, and one of the ones, we have 3 open positions in our municipal collaboration team. It's very rare that we have this many openings in one team. We have changed them a little bit, but these are harder positions to fill. I think they're really great positions for someone that's looking to get into municipal government. And I think I might send something out to executive committee or others. It's hard. I know calling something like a contract specialist or grant specialist, it's hard maybe to get the same kind of excitement as like a clean energy specialist. So we're trying some unique hiring pieces, but we have three openings there. And, you know, if you guys know any young folks who are interested in kind of learning more about government, I think these are really great jobs to start that career. And people that have had them now are, you know, all the way up to town managers and administrators. So, and then we have 2 positions in our land use team open, a housing position and a generalist position, as well as some web developers. I think we mentioned that we lost both of our web developers. And then we have 1 position in Heidi's team where we've done a finalist interview. And so we are going to be hopefully making an offer this week to get Heidi's team back up to full staff. So that is my report. But excited to have some new folks on board.
Great.
I think Rebecca might have left out, I'm not sure, that we are trying to fill another position in the housing division. Maybe
No,
you
I
mentioned that.
I did.
You said that. Okay, fine.
So will you be onboarding people in the office? I guess no one's there, but yeah.
So-
No, there are plenty of people there.
Okay.
So right now the onboarding is happening remotely, but you know, for example, for the HR generalist position, I know that you know, they're going to start going in a couple days a week already from the outset. You know, same with the operations specialist. We've been very clear that that is a in-person job from the beginning, because you know, Heidi needs that, you know, support day and that support in the office. So for some of the positions, we're going to be onboarding in the office. For others, we're going to continue remote until the fall. But you know, I know Mark and I are, you know, Mark started going in, I'm starting going in more, and Heidi's there all the time. So it is filling up. No, that's not the right word. There are more people going back. I think for us, it's a little bit, I feel like it's a little bit of a chicken and egg problem. It's hard to commute into Boston just to Zoom all day. But so you kind of need that like mass of people there so that you can move some of your meetings off Zoom and to in person.
Yeah. So I imagine figuring out, did we talk about this already? Just the combination of working from home and working at the office for everybody, you know, in the next few months will be complicated and challenging. I mean, it's probably good to have a lot of flexibility, but you need that in-person.
That's right. So, I mean, I told Angela that's her first project, although we have a big team that's working on it right now. And I think, you know, I would say our policies already really allowed for flexible work, and yet not a lot of people took advantage of them. And so, or I'd say not everyone took advantage of them. Or maybe I think folks kind of thought out, to be honest, that was really just available for parents, but not available for others. You know, for one, I worked from home 1 day a week pre-pandemic, and I know a lot of other people did as well. You know, what we're saying is that as part of the review process, which we're in the middle of right now, everyone should be having a conversation with their manager and supervisor about kind of what is their desires moving forward. And we did do a survey, you know, from a space perspective. Of course, I think basically what I saw was everyone wants to come in 3 days a week and they don't want to have set days. So I think that'll be really good from a work-life balance perspective, and not necessarily it's hard to do that and save a lot of room on space. I think we had like 8% of people wanted to come in on Fridays. Now, maybe that will change once, I think, I don't know if you guys, I was at a bunch of barbecues this weekend where everyone's like, everyone's going back to work after Labor Day. And I just think it's going to be like gridlock, and, you know, we'll see I think Fridays might end up being a better commute day. But that's part of the conversation everyone's supposed to be having during the performance review. And then we're doing some space planning to try to figure out how we can accommodate everyone.
Thanks.
But it's complicated.
Yeah, I bet.
It is complicated, and Rebecca and her team, even before Angela, are doing a great job on a lot of the details. And we have always provided, as Rebecca said, flexibility to people, and we'll continue to provide flexibility. At the same time, it's time to come back to work. And I need to be fairly clear about this, not to the people on this screen, but generally. It is safe and reasonable to work. And some of that work is going to require in-person meetings, and a lot of that work is going to require in-person contact with our constituents. And I understand that everyone might want maximum flexibility and, not have to come into the office very much, and we would continue to work with each other on screen. I think there are some people like that, and there are other people who are itching to come back and be with people. And it's fine that there are folks in all of those different categories. But we are not going to follow, Governor Baker's perspective that all of state government can now work from homes where he will not assist in paying the mortgage or the rent, and he can rent out the rest of his space. That's not going to be the process here. People are hopefully going to come back to work, be together, be with our constituents. And that's what we're looking to do with an added amount of flexibility and with additional capacity for hybrid meetings, because I think those are going to exist for a considerable period of time.
Thanks. Hadn't heard that about the governor's approach. Wow.
Well, he's, I talked to a department head at MassDOT the other day who said, I have been told that, I no longer have an office to come back to. It has been destroyed and it is being, moved into the part of the building that is going to be leased. We've gone through a struggle with CTPS in terms of whether or not they will get, and they're going to be downsized, probably downsized and increased rent. Still working on that, hopefully be able to avoid that, but they're in that situation as well. The governor Secretary Keneally has been very clear with me that the governor believes most state workers can now work from home and that there is no particular reason for them to be in their offices. And I think it's just part of the overall objective of downsizing state government.
Right. And I question the legality of renting space, but whatever.
All right. So I think that's the hiring update and other things. We're super excited, as Rebecca said, that Angela's coming on board. She's going to be fabulous. And we need the help and support and ideas. So
Does it feel like a lot of churn? It's a good number of positions you're either filling or people are coming in.
Well, it is and it isn't. I think that, we went through a period of time, we lost some folks at the very beginning of the pandemic. We then went through most of the pandemic kind of rock solid, no one moved, which is kind of reflective of the real estate market too. Nobody's doing anything. They're just waiting to see what happens. And now people are making life decisions. To be perfectly honest, the biggest impact that I see is sort of the combining of two factors. One being it's impossible to buy a house here. And two, people want to be closer to their families. I don't think it actually has all that much to do with remote work or not remote work. And that could change and that could be a factor, and I'm sure it'll be a factor in some people's minds. But I think that, the housing market is utterly out of control at this moment, far worse than it was a year ago in many respects. And there's like no inventory to be had. We have a lot of young people at this agency. We just do, young families with kids. They're looking to buy a house and it is really, really hard. And, so as a result, I've seen in regard to upstate New York, in regard to Hartford, in regard to Chicago, situations where people, that's sort of the combined issue. I'm going back to where my folks are. They're getting older. I want to be with them. I felt what it was like not to be able to see them during the pandemic. And I think I can buy a house there.
Right. And I mean, again, I don't want to drag us out, but the idea that MAPC would have an employee who lives in Syracuse, New York, or Chicago, Illinois, that's not.
I think we are considering that for there's only, I think, a few of our positions that really can be fully remote, because too many of our positions in the end, I think, are going to require folks being able to be at in-person meetings. But, for example, for our web developer position, we would consider someone that wants to be fully remote. I do think there are challenges that we cannot overcome, like in terms of benefits, for example. We're not leaving the GIC, and the GIC does have one option, that retirees use, where you can get coverage that, helps you out of network, but it's a very expensive plan. And so that I think is going to be one of our biggest challenges, is that, you know, we don't have the power, and nor do I think it's financially like reasonable for us to pull out of what we have a great deal right now with the state benefits. And those benefits are not particularly flexible for folks that want to be really out of state. So, and I think it's probably, you know, there's some of our positions that are going to be 100% in the office, like on Heidi's team. That's a very small number. There's some percent that will be completely remote, like a web developer, or it's one of our, you know, we already had actually one of our, but I don't know what his title is, like data librarian, was already only coming in once or twice a month, because most of his work he can do from home. But for everybody else, I think they're going to have to be in the office a couple days, and particularly once public meetings start again.
Yeah, no, it's very, very interesting.
They're
And
gonna
I
have
would
to
just,
get here for the meetings, to the region for the meetings. So I think it's going to be really hard for most of our staff to live outside the region when, you know, we run so many public meetings, and that's a big part of their job.
right. And also to some degree, having a flavor for the region itself. Like, you know, it might be hard to plan for Boston if you've never been to Boston, kind of thing. But, and then the only other comment I would make is the whole Zoom side of things. Like it's flexibility, but there's also been a great amount of power and capacity that we've all seen through Zoom of, you know, meeting attendance. And, you know, honestly, frankly, me this morning forgetting that there was a 9 a.m. meeting and then being able to hop on Zoom, you know, 2 minutes later is pretty good, actually. So
I would agree that Zoom is extraordinarily helpful for forgetful people like you and me, Sam. And it also gets more people to participate. I sometimes wonder if the screen's off people. Some of them are participating completely, but you know, if you have 40 people in the room and 20 of them are screens off, I'm sure 10 of them are not really participating. And you know, for groups like MARPA, for example, I can't see, you know, the folks from Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket flying in, and the folks from Pittsfield doing 300 miles a day to go to a MARPA meeting, maybe twice a year, but not more than that. So I think, you know, we have to lay down an expectation and then be flexible. And I think the hybrid issue is going to be with us for a long time, with people participating both on the screen and in person. And we and every other business organization in the world are now trying to figure that out. So I assume we will all figure it out.
yeah. Okay, thanks.
All right, that's that.
I think Sandra, I saw Sandra's hand up.
Oh.
You're good. Okay.
Great. Seeing no other comment. Okay, good. Next up on the agenda is project update, which we do not have, right, Mark?
No project update today, I'm sorry.
It's totally fine. Next up.
But we have some good ones lining up for executive committee. I think we're going to actually do the digital one that we talked about a little during revenue contracts at the executive committee meeting.
Great. Next up is the review of draft agenda for June 16th executive committee meeting. I don't have that to review. Does anyone?
Heidi, you're on mute.
Okay.
Well, let me first say that Adam will be chairing that meeting. I have a conflict in my schedule. I called Mark on Friday about it. I have a meeting that I can't miss for work. So I'd rather be with you all, but unfortunately, my day job is the one that pays me.
So with this in front of us, and thank you, Aaron, for calling me on Friday and letting me know that. Sure, we'll work it out. Adam will do fine. We will miss you. We will start with the introduction of new executive committee members, which I think is only Angie. Is that right, Heidi?
Yep.
And most people know Angie Leo already, but she will introduce herself. Maybe we'll do something like go around the room and say, like, latest amazing event in your life or something like that, just to refresh people's knowledge of each other. Are we doing the presentation of the Elliott Scholarship to the actual student? Is that why that is here, Heidi?
Yes, yep.
Okay. So Ariana is joining us. You will recall that she was unable last minute to not join us at the council meeting. So we're going to have her receive the presentation here at executive committee meeting. That is one of those things that, you know, if it weren't for Zoom, it probably wouldn't happen. So we'll do the minutes. Sam will do the report of the treasurer. There will be an executive director's report. It will be a 2-month report this time. Legislative updates. I actually believe that I edited this, Heidi. Just trying to find out where it is, whether it's part of legislative updates or it could be a separate agenda item. I think I am going to ask Lizzie if she will make a presentation about the ARPA funding, so people have an understanding, as we do now, of where it's coming from and what kinds of things it can be used for. I think that will be very interesting to people, and Lizzie has become quite expert on that. Rebecca and I and department heads are working actively on the project side, but what I'm most eager for people to have an understanding of is what money's available and what the Treasury is saying we can use it for. I think that would be helpful and informative to the members of the committee. And I think that's it.
Sandra?
So just two things. One is my husband's having surgery that day and I don't know what time, so I'll try to be at the meeting even if I'm at the hospital, but you know, I just have to see how it goes. And then in terms of, we were going to do the Metro Common, sort of approve it, but that's been postponed. Is that true?
Oh, yes, that was, I don't actually think that was ever going to be for June, but it has been postponed. And my hope is that it will be in July. The actual council meeting for its approval will be sometime between September 15th and October 15th. And I do see that in addition to what Sandra said, I've made a liar of myself. There will be the project update. And at the moment, I'm inclined to ask Josh and Ryan, Josh Eichen from Economic Development and maybe Ryan from Digital, to make a presentation on the new digital project.
Great. Any other?
So that's a lot. It's a full agenda.
That is quite a meeting. Great. Any other questions or comments?
Right. I think now seeing the length of the meeting, I will dispense with that idea of asking every executive committee member around the table to tell us what's happening in their lives. We'll just introduce Angie and move into business. How's that?
I think that sounds great.
No change. I don't think a change is needed there. But we can straighten out the language later.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Great. So next up on the agenda is other business not known at the time of the posting. So this is part of Mark and I conversation on Friday regarding his review. It was neglected from the agenda, which is no problem because Adam is not here anyway. And Mark and I talked about it, and I know I talked to a couple officers individually about this, but I would like to have a conversation just really quickly about everyone's comfort in doing an in-person conversation regarding Mark's review. That way Heidi and Rebecca don't have to be there as well, but we could do it outside or in a space, masked. I don't know how everyone feels, what everyone's comfort is on that.
Well, Erin, I've been thinking about this a little since we discussed it on Friday. I'm totally amenable to this. This is fine. I would rather that it be during the month of June, if that's at all possible. But I think that having it in the office is fine with me, or having it in an outdoor location is fine with me. I could make a few inquiries, which I think are better made one-on-one rather than in a recorded group setting. about people's comfort level, where they are willing to be with other people in light of their status from a vaccination perspective. That sounds to me like it would be a little better if I just checked with folks privately about that. And based on that, I would then, and also a review of dates, I would try and schedule a date sometime before the 4th of July.
So I'm just curious why we need to do it quick. I think, Aaron, you had the thought of doing it for the July officers meeting, but whatever, that's up to you, I guess.
Well, we're trying, Sandra, very hard to, Rebecca and I are trying very hard to be done with all salary changes
Got you.
so they can be implemented at the beginning of the fiscal year. And, we worked very hard to, arguably at the expense of some other things, to, really make sure that we approved the budget on time at the last council meeting. And the next step is people are doing performance reviews currently throughout the agency, and we'd like to have everything decided ideally before the 1st of July, so that can be implemented by finance without having to do anything retroactive.
Yeah, so we could do the salary and then do a more broad-ranging discussion of some of our 360-degree things, discussions that we had separately, if that makes sense. That's one possibility. Mark isn't looking at, you're not looking like that's a good idea at all, but anyway.
No, it's fine. I think, well, I don't increase people's salaries without a review. That's generally my rule. So
Yeah.
it's a little weird for me to get a change in salary without a review being completed, but you folks can do whatever you want, and I will accommodate that schedule.
Okay. The more important thing, well, not the more important thing, but I'm comfortable doing anything anywhere without mask. So FYI.
Mark, didn't we do your contract though?
Yeah, I thought we did it.
Already?
Well, you did a contract, yes, but you
Friday,
still,
and I was like, am I imagining this? I thought we already did your contract with increases.
I thought we did too. I mean, I thought we did some performance review.
well, yeah, I mean, I don't really, I mean, there's not a numerical increase in the contract. It might be linked to increases at the rest of the agency,
Right.
but that's always a discussion because you don't know what the increases are to the rest of the agencies. So, and besides which, I don't feel comfortable, whatever it says in the contract, without your taking into account my annual review before determining a salary increase. That's generally how I feel. I feel like it should be discussed and there should be a review and you should decide what the salary is. And I've never paid much attention to what the contract says for salary increases. I feel that that's a year by year activity.
I would propose we do it in that order. We also separate it out so other staff don't have to participate in this conversation with Mark, and we do our review and then do salary and then go from there. And also it means that we can just talk to Mark directly about what he's going to get paid. I think that's.
Yeah, I mean, I was getting confused because it feels as though we've been doing the performance review all along here. It feels like it's been really stretched out, but maybe it's just Mark, you presented your self-evaluation and that's as far as we got.
Well, you decided that you were going to talk to
Right.
other folks, and that was fine. I mean, I've recommended that every year, but you haven't done it. So my understanding is this is the opportunity to relay back that information, which I'm very glad to hear. Is there a reason we can't do another meeting in June?
None here.
I mean,
I can do one.
No. No, we'll just, what we can do is we can do a doodle. Well, I think we should, Mark, maybe you speak individually with people about comfort. And then from there, we'll doodle availability and then we'll set the meeting from there. How's that sound? Along with location as well. So yeah, does that sound good to everyone? That's great. And hopefully we can do it all at once. Feedback, review, money. Sound good?
It's okay with me.
Okay, great. And then Heidi and Rebecca don't have to come, or Sasha. All right, great. Is there any other business not known at the time of this posting?
Summer scheduling, how does that typically work? Does August not have meetings in it? I don't remember how all that works.
Yeah, I had two scheduling. One, and this is more for Heidi, I think, but right now we have our officers a meeting, Zoom invite or meeting invite for the 5th of July, but that's obviously the celebration of 4th of July. So I think we need to make sure that's on the 12th of July or no.
Yeah, that's already,
I can't do the 12th. I will be away.
So I will put out, I think we need to figure out the date for the July officers meeting. And then, we are talking about real ways to think about staff burnout at MEPC. And one of the suggestions that's been put on the table is to cancel all of the standing meetings in August. This has actually been our practice, but we've never kind of proactively announced it. I feel like we kind of get to August and are like, let's not have executive committee, let's not have legislative committee, let's not have officers. And so one of the things that we would like to do is like announce that early to give a signal to staff that we're, trying to create room for vacations and time off, which I think are really important before we transition to the fall, which I think will be a whole other transition this year with the in-person. So my suggestion, and I think Mark's as well, would be to cancel all of the standing meetings in August, like we typically do, but let's make that decision now.
And given that we can't do the 5th in July, Aaron, I think you suggested later in the month, like the 19th, so that could be sort of partway between the non-existent August and a little bit later. I can't do the 12th, so that's why, that seemed like a good compromise to do it later since we're not meeting in August. Nor can I do the 26th.
Well, aren't you just very busy this summer, Sandra? No, I think that's totally reasonable. I could do the 19th as well. I'm totally fine with canceling the August meetings. I'm actually away during the expected MEPC officers meeting for August. So not having one is great with me. How does everyone feel about doing the officers meeting on July 19th? Yeah, twist your arm, right, Rebecca, that you're not around?
Yeah, I think Rebecca and I are, I am out the first 2 weeks of July.
Uh-huh.
I think Rebecca is out after that. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm actually just out that 19th. I'm taking a long weekend.
Oh, okay. All right.
My best friend from Michigan is flying in, so yeah.
Okay.
We could do the 20th or any other, yeah.
I think I'm offline
You
that whole week.
without me,
actually.
I really don't. I think you should go ahead without me. It's just, is that your first day back, Mark? Is that your concern?
It's my first day back, but also we have to figure out when executive committee is. And that will be, if we are adopting MetroCommon, that actually is a very important executive committee meeting. It's one at which I would hope that Rebecca and I can both be present. And I am gone the first 2 weeks of July.
So on my calendar right now, as like a phantom date, I say phantom because it's like in the faded way. I have our July executive committee meeting being July 21st, which means Mark, you are back, and Rebecca, I anticipate you will be there.
Yeah, I'm taking the bulk of my vacation. I'm trying to take as much of August off as possible, but July, I should be here for most of.
Okay.
Okay, great.
I think I've got a problem then, and I'm sorry about this. I thought I had scheduled this correctly, but I think I am away, camping away the week of July 19th through the 24th, that Monday through Saturday. I'll be offline. I mean, just offline. So I don't know what that does to everything. I'll confirm that. I'll confirm that because I'm not 100% sure, but I think that's the week that I scheduled because I thought it was between everything.
I guess I feel a number of things part of me feels like this is best done through an email exchange. And also to have Adam here. I think we need to do the officers meeting. I think we need to do the executive committee meeting for July. I think we've gotten from you permission to cancel all of the standing meetings for August. Rebecca and I feel both very strongly about that and appreciate your support. The question of actual approval of MetroCommon, I think it is not unlikely that that is going to fall to both an executive committee meeting and then a council meeting that will be after Labor Day. And I think that's both because of the workload that people are finding, especially to get the policy recommendations done, but also the digital hub. I think it's also because vacation schedules in July and August make it very difficult to have a substantial number of people at an executive committee meeting. It's not only Sam who is going to be camping. I am sure that some other members are going to be camping or otherwise away. And I think it's likely that we will do both in September. I still think we should have an executive committee meeting in July, but it may not include that item. So I think I would say go ahead with the 21st. We will miss you, Sam. Sheila will probably present a financial report. And my guess is we will not be adopting a regional plan while you are camping.
Okay.
Rebecca, does that sound reasonable to you?
Yeah, I think we should hold the date that we currently have. I think we'll get the most people, and I completely agree. I think more people are taking more time off than typical in the summer because people didn't take a lot of time off over this last year. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Which is a good, I hope everybody's taking time off this summer.
The other thing I just want people to be aware that what we are really encouraging at MAPC, I know I had this debate with Mark Rassicott the other day, but I think I won, was that people should actually take the time off and not be reviewing emails and not be, like my favorite one is doing endless transportation interviews with the Globe from the bike path in Eastham. That not while biking. So I too am going to try and model that behavior. And I think it's something that it's very hard for me, but it's something that I think we're going to, try to do for the staff and for our directors. I hope for you folks as well.
I think that sounds great. Okay, great. So we'll keep, just so everyone's on the same page, July 21st, we will maintain the executive committee meeting. And in the interim, someone from staff, whether that's Mark, Heidi, will send the email to schedule the July officers meeting. And then we'll schedule it. And then also we will move forward with a second June officers meeting to, I don't want to say deal with, but to address Mark's review and financial compensation. Sound good? Okay, lots of nods. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. And then all August meetings, standing meetings are canceled for maximum flexibility for vacation and time off. That is very much warranted. All right, great. Anything else not known at the time of the posting? Great. Seeing none, I'm going to entertain at this time a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Motion made by Sam.
Second.
Second made by Sandra. And now we're going to vote. Sam?
Yes.
Sandra?
Yes.
Aaron? Yes. Motion passes 3-0. Meeting is adjourned at 10:06 a.m.
Thank you. Rebecca and Heidi, could you stay on for a moment, please?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone, and stay cool.
Thank you all very much.